Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is your man Air Jordan 14 back with another performance review, and what we've got here, of course, is the Lunar Hyperdunk 2013. So let's just go ahead and get right into what we've got up today. As you know, I do always start with the inner, and for those of you who may be new to the channel, the reason for this is simple. Everything else about the shoe may be great, but if there's something internally that's causing the shoe to be uncomfortable to wear for whatever reason, then all of those other performance attributes, no matter how good they may be, will be rendered null and void because you're not going to wear the shoe. So it may seem a little redundant, a little silly, but that's why I do it. And really this is becoming pretty much standard and ubiquitous in all of modern athletic shoes, being lined with some sort of smooth material that's not going to cause any sort of problems here. And the Lunar Hyperdunk is no exception to this. It's lined with a very smooth material. It doesn't have any issues with anything. There's not really any sorts of seams within the shoe. It's going to hit you in a place that's going to cause any problems. So from the inner standpoint, we're all good to go on that one. Starting with the traction. Now, as you can see here, you've got a herringbone pattern here that basically runs the length of the shoe, with the exception of this area here where the support shank is, and you've got a textured area. I'll zoom in a little bit closer. Right here around the midfoot. Well, the net result of this is a shoe that offers very good traction. I played in it on a variety of floors. Some were dusty, some were pristine, and in all of those instances, it held up very, very, very well. The rubber is soft. It's somewhat pliable here, so it's going to be it's tough enough to grip the floor very well, while also still being flexible enough to help with the traction as well. Like I said, although the rubber is stiff, you could get by for some time with this as an outdoor shoe. Though if you decide to go with this outdoor, you may want to look at a version that maybe has a translucent outsole, as those tend to hold up a bit better over the life of a shoe outdoors. But nonetheless, traction was great on any types of stops that you would make, cutting or anything. It's really going to hold you in place. So from that standpoint, if you're an active player who moves and stops and things of that nature, this is going to be a great shoe that's going to stand up and get the job done for you. Now, to the midsole here, you got it's a length Lunar Lawn midsole here, and I've initially had some trepidation about the Lunar material, just because on other shoes it has a tendency to bottom out, and once it does that, it's just the shoe is just dead underfoot. But on this shoe, through the course of my wearing, I didn't have any problems with it. Initially, the break-in time was so unbelievably minute. Probably within a game or two, it definitely started to wear in and give you the impact protection as well as a tad bit of responsiveness. And over subsequent wearings, it did improve, and then it got to a point, and it didn't degrade or improve, but it was good nonetheless. Which is a pleasant surprise. It seems that Nike has done some tweaks with the Lunar foam, and it continues to get better and be more durable and more resilient. So it's really good. Now, of course, if you are a heavier player, you may want something a little more beefy underfoot. So you may want to look at something else to kind of give you the extra beef that you need. But, you know, for average players, I would say from the 1 through 3 and even some small 4s, the Lunar cushioning should give you exactly what you need. Now, moving up to the upper here, as you can see here, you got a fused upper here, and you've got some fly wire that's exposed here, and it's also integrated into the lacing system, as you can see here. One of the issues I had with the 2011 Hyperdunk was fit around this area, and I think because what would happen in the midfoot is it would kind of bulge out as your foot would flex, so it would kind of leave a bit of a, not dead space, but there was an area where the shoe wasn't quite locking down on the midfoot as I would have liked to. That problem was addressed on the last year's Lunar Hyperdunk, the 2012, and with this one, which was good, and it's even been improved more so on the 2013. Now, in these areas, you've got these these flex areas cut out, and it's just cut perfectly, and it flexes where it needs to, while also allowing you to have the fit here. So when the shoe flexes here, the fit is not compromised anywhere here on the midsole here. So it keeps your foot locked down both from front to back and side to side. You don't experience any sort of movement internally within the shoe. The upper does a great job of holding your foot in place, and I didn't experience anything in terms of foot movement whatsoever, even at the heel here. Now, there's not really any major notching here, but the lacing system, and I'm going to say this even though it seems basic and elementary, you may have new people to the channel, but lace them all the way up to the top. Excuse me. And it's just going to keep your heel locked in place. I didn't have any heel movement in the shoe whatsoever. The only thing that I may have experienced, I thought it was, but I have a tendency sometimes not to lace my shoes up as securely as I should, and sometimes that can give me a false report on the fit of a shoe. Then the first time I wore these, I was guilty of that, and I was not that happy with the fit, but I did tie them up in subsequent wearings, and it was a lot better. The only issue I really had, and it wasn't that big of an issue, is I would have liked to touch more padding here at the tongue, because I do lace my shoes up rather snugly. Now, I'm going to try to show this in some way here. You see you've got these notches here, and these grooves almost line up exactly when you lace the shoe up and it's on your tongue. The laces will somewhat fall within these grooves. There's not a whole lot of padding behind them, so if you lace the shoe up, if you can imagine there's a foot in here, sometimes it would give me a touch of pressure across that area behind the tongue there. But if I wore like some elite socks or some thick socks, it wasn't that much of an issue. So that was my only real issue from that standpoint, but everything else was good. Now, as far as breathability, of course you've got this mesh tongue here, and then you've got some mesh paneling, and there are some cutouts, albeit small, this here and here. So there was some airflow moving throughout the shoe. It wasn't as noticeable as, say, like on an Air Max Flyby or something to that effect, but nonetheless there was some airflow there. It wasn't the greatest, but it wasn't too bad. If your feet are a sauna, I guess you can load up on the Dr. Scholl's foot powder, and that should be good to go. So in closing, the 2013 Hyperdunk improves even more so on what was laid down by the previous Lunar Hyperdunk, and makes it even better. It excels in all the areas that you would want: cushioning, traction, support, all of those major areas. It's a good shoe for quicker players who are on their feet. And even some light big men. Now, if you want the maximum amount of cushioning, you may want to look elsewhere, or if you have sensitive tops of your feet, you might want to look at other options, maybe thicker socks or something to address the tongue issue there. But other than that, it's an excellent shoe. It's going to last you throughout a whole season of wear. You can even get away with it wearing it outdoors. An all-around excellent shoe. And I definitely enjoyed wearing it, so I do put it on my recommend list. You can probably find this one right now in outlets and other places for a really good price. So it can definitely be a bargain performance shoe. So that's it. That's it for today's review. Appreciate everyone watching. And Shamir Air Jordan 14 signing out. Peace. Right around these areas surrounding the armor posit. And this combination goes around the whole shoe here. As you can see, of course, your